Okay, so today we're going to be going over some of the nuances of the purchasing application. So I'm going to go ahead and click into the purchasing application. And this is where a purchase representative would essentially be able to create requests for quotations, create purchase orders, agreements, those sorts of things. So this format will look very familiar throughout Odoo. This is the list view of all of the different purchasing items that we might have. So in this case, we'll see the status of those different purchase items, purchase order, if it's canceled, request for quotation, all those certain things. I'm easily able to search, filter this down, group these by really any metric that I want. But today we're going to go into the configuration settings, and we're going to go ahead and look at a couple different specific things within the purchasing application. One being a purchase order approval. So this means that a manager must approve certain orders, and then also purchase agreements. So these are things like call for tenders, and then blanket orders. So we'll go over briefly how to do those things today. And we go ahead and save this. And purchase order approval, that's what we'll do first. And essentially, this would enable you as a manager to approve orders over a certain limit. In this case, we're going to say $5,000. So if I go back into the actual settings, this really has to do with user settings as well, because only the manager is the one who needs to approve it, and then everyone else in the system, they would actually have to get approval from the manager. So I have two fictitious people, one being Daphne Duck and one being Don Duck, and then Don is going to be the manager, and then Daphne, you see here under user rights, under purchases, she's just a user, she's not a manager. So I'm going to save that as user. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the purchasing application, and I'm actually going to switch screens here to Daphne's database here, because she's the one who needs to have manager approval. So what this is going to do, I'm going to go ahead and go into purchase. I'm going to create a request for quotation. I'm going to choose a vendor. In this case, let's say the basket vendor. I'll add uh, the vendor product item. Just going to say bike bowl, and then I'm just going to say this item is actually $5,200 to purchase. So $5,200. I'm going to save that here, and I'm going to go ahead and I can obviously send this order. Excuse me. I'm going to send this to. I can send this email directly to the the vendor in this case, and that'll create a request for quotation, which I can easily view, and it'll be viewable also to the vendor. So I'm going to go ahead and send that out, and you'll see it move from RFQ, request for quotation, to RFQ sent. It'll log in the chatter. And then me as Daphne, I'm going to go ahead and try to confirm this order. And you'll notice it didn't move to the purchase order, it moved to the to approve. So because this unit price is above $5,000, it looks like we ordered 10, so it's like way above that. But because it's above $5,000, it's asking me to be approved by a manager. So then I'm going to go back into the manager's instance or view of what this would look like. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this purchasing page. And then this will be under to approve. So this is that one right there that we just made to approve. You can obviously use a filter from a manager's perspective, say I need to see all the ones that I need to approve. Go and use the to approve filter. I'm going to click into this one and say, hey, okay, yeah, this everything kind of checks out here. It looks great. I'm going to go ahead and approve the order. And then you'll see it moved from an RFQ sent. In this case, I'm not seeing the to approve because I am a manager. I'm a manager as Don Duck. And then it moved to a receipt in the warehouse to bring those items into stock. So I can go ahead and receive the products here, and then let me show you what it looks like from this person's perspective. It's a to approve right now. I can just go ahead and refresh the page, and now that item will actually be moved to a purchase order because the boss went ahead and confirmed that. So that's how that would work to set up those restrictions to ask for an approval based off of a certain amount. So that's what I wanted to cover on that. The next thing I wanted to cover was the purchase agreement types. So a call for tender and a blanket order. And so call for tender is essentially you are putting out multiple bids on a request for quotation, and then you're choosing the most competitive bid. And then blanket order functions the same sort of way, except you'd essentially be buying from a vendor multiple times and then locking in a price ahead of time. So I'm going to cover just the call for tenders. And if you'll notice, go into settings here, call for tender. I'm going to select that the agreement type is select only one, so it's an exclusive RFQ. And then I'm going to leave these settings for lines and quantities here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into the purchase agreements, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. So you notice this is that main page for request for quotations. All I'm going to do is go ahead and go into the purchase agreements and create a new purchase agreement, because this is not really a direct request for quotation or purchase order. It's a purchase agreement. I'm going to choose the agreement type, in this case, call for tender. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a specific product that this call for tender is going to be for. So let's say, again, it's going to be, we'll say basket in this case. And we're going to go ahead and confirm that, yes, we do want to start this call for tender. And it will be moved from draft to confirmed. And then you'll see here, we now have 0 RFQs orders, and we're going to start adding those in for the different vendors that are going to potentially supply this item to us. So I'm going to say new quotation. I'm going to add in a vendor. I'm going to say basket vendor in this case. I can go ahead and send out this request for quotation to that vendor here. And then same kind of process we went over last time. I'll send that out. And it'll log here in the chatter. And we went to RFQ sent. So if I follow the breadcrumbs back to the actual purchase agreement, which is that call for tender, now we'll have one RFQ/orders in this call for tender. And we just need to add in another vendor. So someone else, we're going to ask, hey, what price can you provide this this basket for? And then we'll say it's the cabinet door vendor basket. And same process, going to send this request for quotation to that vendor, send it out, and then move from request for quotation sent. And I'm going to go ahead and just do one more here. So now there's 2. And I'm going to create one more vendor. Automatically loads that product in there. And then I'm going to add in a faucet vendor in this case. And I send this request for quotation to this faucet vendor. Send here. And RFQ to RFQ sent. Okay, great. So now we have 3 RFQs, and we need to essentially select which vendor we're going to go with. So you'll see it's in confirmed state, and then if we hit validate, it'll move over to bid selection. So now, because we hit validate, it's locking this call for tender, so you can't add in any new vendors. So I'm going to go ahead and go into one of these RFQs, and I can go ahead and look through them easily. Tab through all sorts. You can enter in what the vendor got back to on pricing here. You can certainly enter in that. So say this guy is 12, and go into the next one. And this guy was 15. And then we'll say the last guy here was able to offer this at a price of $9. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select this last one. The basket vendor can supply the basket for $9. So that's the best best price that we're going to get from this vendor. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm the order. And then you'll notice, boom, it automatically created a purchase order from this vendor for this product. You can see that receipt here. Now, if we go back to the actual call for tender, you'll see that it moved from bid selection to close because we've selected a vendor. We go to this, the tab that displays all the requests for quotations to the vendors, and then these 2 that we didn't select have automatically been canceled. So just a really easy way to send out quotes for a similar product to multiple vendors, and then easily choose one, and it'll actually kick off a purchase order. And in this case, it's kicking off a warehouse order to receive these products into stock. So really cool. Just some pretty simple workflows, but very powerful tools through Odoo. And again, really what we covered today was just going over the approval purchase order approval, and then also purchase agreements in the term in regards to the call for tenders. So there's a lot of other things we can cover, but those are the two functions I specifically want to cover on the purchase application with Odoo.